Well, hello there. This is Shane from Shane's Books and Review, and I hope you are having a great day today. The first one we're going to talk about today is Legacies from F. Paul Wilson, which was narrated by Christopher Price. Quick word about the narrations from Christopher Price. It was well done. It was very enjoyable to listen to. He really gets into the characters and it shows. His portrayal of the different characters and their situations was really good. There wasn't anything that was over the top, wasn't anything that was underrated either, and I felt like the emotional displays that he had was pretty well on par with where it should have been. Almost a little bit more so than what you would think would be in a book that's wrote like Repairman Jack. Sometimes whenever I get a hold of a sequel, those things are just a continuation and just an addition of X, Y, and or Z to the story. Usually it's not something that's really gets the blood going, and in this one we do have the continuation of Repairman Jack, and some of his backstory with Gia comes better to fruition. It comes around a little bit more. We see more of a depth to Repairman Jack and Gia's relationship, and with Vicky, her daughter, as well. It's one of those things that it adds to him, and I really feel like this is a thing that is missing whenever it comes to Jack Reacher. This storyline is different than the other storyline. Yeah, we still have the same things of he's a fixer, he goes and does things for other people to correct situations that they're in that they feel like they cannot fix themselves, which usually involves violence, etc. In this one, it starts out that the place that Gia is now volunteering at, which happens to be a orphan shelter for kids affected by HIV, and their Christmas gifts are took by some dude. So he gets contracted out to do some work for this orphanage through his love interest, Gia. And that in itself is a very remarkable and rewarding scene, especially the way that he handles this guy. It's just well done, ho ho ho, the whole nine. It's just funny. But after this little situation's resolved, this is the first, eighth to a quarter of the book, then we get into the actual meat of the situation, being that some of the things that were hinted at by the boss or the person that runs the shelter, being Alicia, she has some situations that she's trying to deal with, but she just, everything, like me this morning, everything's just interrupting. Everything prevents her from getting to that point where she needs to be at or wants to get to. Her father had passed away. Her father was not a good person in her mind. Her brother had took advantage of situations in the past, and there are some very adult themes in this book, surprisingly enough. It has to do with abuse, has to do with the way that it would affect somebody throughout, it has to do with the way that it would affect somebody throughout their life and into adulthood. And so that's where the heaviness of the book comes from, is her and her situation. Jack, being the person that he is, takes on this situation, and he knows that there's something that he just doesn't know, that just wasn't told to him, but he can't quite put a finger on it for a while. And then he does. The come to find out, or little did they know, that kind of a cliche, is that her father had invented, through sourcing different patents, etc., a technology that would allow broadcast power, and the people that ran oil companies, they're afraid of this technology because it would absolutely decimate their economy. But it would be an incredible thing if you think about it, because if there was indeed a broadcast power that was powered by solar, that was effective enough to run pretty much anything wirelessly with just using these little aerials that stick out of things and a small contraption that looks like a battery, that's a no-brainer. That would free humanity to actually focus on the things that are important, us in the world, instead of all the other junk that we have to worry about right now. With that being said, it was unique to see how this book actually played out. It was kind of a hidden gem in a way. If you aren't into Jack Reacher type books where there's a whole lot of beat 'em up action type stuff, probably not going to be the book for you, but it is sci-fi. It does have some very interesting points in it, and some very interesting espionage type things as well. Yes. Now, what are some of the feelings that brought forth from this book? What did it get out of me? Well, absolute triumph, really. There's a couple of scenes, one towards the end, where it's kind of postulating that Jack might not make it through, but I mean, come on. If you're just picking up the series, you know that there's more than 2 books, so it's not a surprise he does live. It was seeing those moments of him overcoming these astronomical odds and bringing things to a, if not positive, at least to a firm place where somebody would be able to start to heal themselves and to move on from their past that has pretty well defined who they are. So that was really interesting. The other feelings I got from it, there were some scenes of laughter, also speculation, because there's a lot of similarities similarities in the technology that was being described in this book to Tesla. See, Tesla had this, I forget what it was called. It was like Wycliffe Tower or something like that, where he was wanting to do this broadcast power type of an idea. And it's not a new idea. It's been around for over 100 years. And that's the whole reason why we have Tesla coils, is that was what he was building up to, was to show that you can oscillate this to here and get this to be powered through the air. And that was the whole purpose of that tower. Some people may know, a lot of the technologies that we have these days are based off of the things that he did, patents that he just pretty well gave away. There was a lot of similarities in this little thing that they had that was going to take them to where this was at, because it was wireless power. And it would have been neat to see if indeed Tesla had the backing to finish out those projects, just to see where we would be today and how much farther along he could have got. Those are my feelings on the book. So is it worth your time, effort, and energy? I would say if you're in the mood for something quirky but still has that touch of manliness to it, yeah, definitely. If not, then maybe not so much. Question of the week. Do you know who Nikola Tesla is? Do you know what kind of technologies he was working on and the differences in between the electricity that he was trying to bring forth and the electricity that we use today? They're completely different things. And I'm not just talking about AC and DC. There's bigger differences than that. And user call out. Zach, if you would please. This is the most interesting thing that we found this week. By the way, there was a comment that somebody made about a Stephen King book, The Outsider, that we had reviewed sometime back. And yeah, I completely agree with you. In the past, I used to dig on some Stephen King. And in fact, I'm going to go back, spoiler alert, I'm going to be reading The Shining and then also Dr. Sleep. I really wanted to see Dr. Sleep in the theater, but for the purposes of life happening, I missed out on that. So I'm going to do the next best thing. I'm going to read the original book, I'm going to read the sequel to the original book, and then after I get done with that, I'll watch the movie. And then maybe we can have a discussion on the virtues of spending so much time reading Stephen King if it absolutely sucks. And I believe that does it. By the way, there's one book that I have mentioned that's going to be reviewed very soon, because I'm going to give you a heads up right now. I mentioned it, and if you're thinking about getting it because I mentioned it, do not. The name of the book is Serpentine by Thomas Thompson, narrated by Mike Chamberlain. Now, quick note, the narrations by Mike was incredible, but the subject was just... It might be the first time I actually trash a book. Beyond that, thank you so much for watching. If you made it to this point, you are a superstar. Thank you so very much. It is very much appreciated. I know that Zach is going to be extremely happy when he sees that you're still watching. That's right. This is Shane from Shane's Books and Review. I hope that you have a great week. Regardless of what happens, just make the best of it. Like, share, subscribe. YouTube wants you to see one of these videos right here. This one's probably going to be awesome. This one down here, I don't trust it. I don't know. It's just something about it. It just doesn't look proper to me. I wouldn't go with this one.